Hello, welcome to podcast number 2. Happy Halloween.
Episode number 2. Hello. As always, we are joined here by the two boys.
Yes, I'm James.
Yeah, and I'm Skylar, also known as Sky the Gamer Guy.
Okay, yeah, and
on
we
the internet. Don't cut me off,
no.
you bitch. I'm surprised you just said James. I'm like, okay.
Sky the Gamer Guy. No,
yeah, well, we're talking about games again.
we are.
I got my M&Ms here. We're out of cookies.
We're the Game Shed.
Yeah.
The
Talking Shed.
This is the Talking Shed.
That's what you're listening to. I was gonna say watching, but
And we'll recap quickly. If you don't want to be spoiled for our bracket winners and losers, for the best horror game.
in the last episode.
Yes. But go check that out if you want to see how we got where we are. But
it got pretty lengthy, but I feel like, yeah, we kind of went a good amount in depth
we're gonna
and justified why these games are here.
yes. But also, if you don't care about that, we're gonna be finishing up today. We're gonna be going through these the remaining matchups, starting with the losers bracket.
The least interesting, in my opinion. Losers bracket has always been like,
well, this is kind of set up perfectly because I think the most intense matchup is going to be saved for last this way.
yeah, it's going to be
cool.
coming up here.
But we're also going to start with one that I think is pretty intense, or at least it would have been about 6 years ago.
Yeah, so just going on up into it, we have
Slender, the original
8 pages.
The original 8 pages, yes. Versus
The original 8 fucks to give.
Versus Amnesia, the original The Dark Descent.
The original Dark Descent.
Yes.
God damn it. We have the original Slender, the original Amnesia. I should have fucking started out with I'm Sky the original guy.
Yeah. Every episode you can be a different Sky.
That's what I was
You
already
can be a
planning.
different guy.
That's what I was planning to be, a different guy.
Oh, so I caught you pretty early on.
Yeah,
I
you
guess.
really did. My second pattern. Like,
Okay.
I'm Sky the predictable guy. All right.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Awesome.
Let's just go into it.
So, can I just say, what a spooky night to be recording this.
It's not night.
That's what I'm saying.
We were up in the wee morning last episode, and now we are up in the mid-afternoon.
We were up till like 2:30 a.m. doing the first one.
And we kind of got tired, so like maybe this will be
More insightful.
Yeah, we'll have more energy to talk about. But fuck, okay. Slender and Amnesia.
Okay, so
Well, this is an interesting pair up, I guess.
these are the two.
Because to be fair, they're kind of similar in how their scares work.
Yeah.
Albeit Slender's a bit more jump scary, but you do have this big bad kind of chasing after you, and if you look at him, your screen gets all fucked up.
Yes.
So I guess that's about where the similarities end.
With Amnesia, yeah, you are typically being chased by some kind of monster.
Yeah, but that's not the entire premise of the game.
And your vision, your sanity will distort your reality.
I mean, that's usually what sanity does.
Yes, well, yeah. So I guess we've drawn the similarities. Now everything else.
Pretty different.
I'm going to, since we already talked about both of these games in depth, I'm gonna harken back to the last time we talked about Slender, which is, I want to say, an incomplete game. And by comparison, here, pertaining to what we said in the last one, I picked Outlast over Slender. And then when we talked about Amnesia, I said I think Amnesia does Outlast better. More like Outlast failed to do Amnesia.
Right.
I think Amnesia is the stronger game when it comes to Amnesia and Outlast.
But we're talking about...
I thought Outlast was better than Slender.
Okay, so you're kind of like using that to logic your way up, as in this one has to be better than the other.
For me, yeah, but where do you stand?
I mean, yeah, we talked about it in depth before, but I guess to give synopsis, Slender's scary. That'll still fuck with me. It'll still get me, like, the whole atmosphere. And, well, I don't have as much personal experience with Amnesia and didn't ring as much well with me. But I feel like I can play that a little easier at night alone. If we're just going off of what is scarier.
Do you really not think Amnesia's like atmospheric?
Oh, it is.
I think it's one of the most atmospheric horror games here
It definitely is, but I mean, like,
that I've ever played. Especially, I've never even played it with headphones, which it tells you at the beginning. At least, like, I think on the PC version, I think it tells you to use headphones.
I think it does, yeah.
To be immersed.
Yeah. Well, also so you can, like, hear, like, the monster around you and shit. That's pretty helpful.
But the atmosphere is what brings the tension. Like,
right, and also,
and it's a fearful tension,
but
like I said.
Slender is also tense in its atmosphere.
In Slender, you can avoid seeing the Slender Man.
Yeah, but in a bit of a different way, I guess.
If you don't turn the camera, you don't ever have to see him.
Well, I guess there's another similarity in that, like, when you're walking around, even when you're completely safe, you don't feel safe. You still feel tense. And when you're getting chased after, on like one of the higher points in the game, it's a bum clencher. I guess it's a different type of tenseness, because also, like, you're able to get away from the monster in Amnesia by hiding,
which feels more rewarding.
That's true.
Well, you can finish what you were saying, but that's my
it makes
thought there.
It not as scary. It's more like, okay, I'm going to have to outrun him a bit, turn off my lantern, and then hide in a corner for like 10 seconds, and he'll go away.
Sure,
and I'll be safe for now to, like, go to where I need to.
Sure, and, like, I would argue that's a strong suit for a game, because I think any game where you don't stand a chance, that's where the B word comes out. It's bullshit.
I thought you were going to say bad. It's bad.
No, if you're put in a situation where you can't survive, that's like objectively bad design, right?
Well, it's not like you can't survive. I mean, it's like you're like sacrificing a good game mechanic and it being like objectively fair versus scary and like losing your shit over being chased. So it's a bit of a sacrifice in that sense. You get me?
Yeah. My points still stand from previously as far as Slender goes. It is an incomplete game. The ending is still disappointing. We won't spend too much on that because we already did.
Yeah, that again, we won't like beat the same point to death.
I just want to say that still stands. Amnesia's a very complete game.
Yeah, more or less.
There's 3 different endings in Amnesia.
That's true. And there's a whole bunch of different fan-made scenario? What would you call them?
Oh, the custom stories.
Custom stories, yeah.
But just on its own, as Amnesia, The Dark Descent, it's really fulfilling to get through the whole game, and it's like a full-length game. It's a full-length experience.
Yeah, it's a whole package that you're getting. But also, Slender is free.
I don't know how much Amnesia is, but I wouldn't...
Amnesia's not much, I don't think.
I wouldn't weigh that here, but like if you think that's valid...
Well, what I'm weighing is that...
I personally wouldn't.
It's tough to expect a whole package from Slender when it is free.
Okay, fair point.
In a small indie game,
Fair.
I'm just kind of looking more to like compare the two and contrast, which is kind of what we were looking to do the first episode. But
I know what you're getting at. I think, and like I'm probably already a hypocrite in this, but contextualizing it doesn't help what it actually is when it stands alone.
Contextualizing Slender?
Yeah, contextualizing any of these to be like, this game's free. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool, but like, it's like an outside factor for what you're actually getting when you play it.
Okay.
the fact that it's free doesn't affect its quality.
Right, but that can also
It's
mean
just
like,
context.
But then that'll also mean if because I'm almost certain that Slender had less of a team behind it than Amnesia.
Oh, probably.
So then that wouldn't be fair if you don't contextualize it like that.
No, I know. And
It's just
Doki
give or
Doki
take, I
Literature
guess.
Club was made by one dude. Well, more or less.
Yeah, it was like a team of a couple people.
But
Like
I think the goal isn't to like that stuff's impressive, but it's impressive outside of the realm of what we're looking at.
Right.
I think. I think, right? Do we agree?
yeah, and I think
And like I said, I might have used something that was outside of the realm to support something I said yesterday. I don't remember, but like I think we should look at it in that way.
right, but that's just something to consider, I guess. Like
Mhm.
just consider the following as like as I kind of play devil's advocate here.
Oh,
But I think both games do hold up still. Like and they both came out relatively close to each other.
it's really, huh?
I was just saying, so that's I guess how they're kind of both similar in how they treat horror and scares and all that.
I don't think you can convince me that Slender, the 8 pages, holds up, which is a big thing that's working against it for me, because I definitely still see it as like it's kind of become obsolete now, because like it was effective because of how little was around at the time, but like if someone made Slender today, you would be like, you just walk around with a light and you grab it, like it would be laughed at. I think.
You know what? You have a point there.
I'm serious. I think it
you
would
came up
be.
with another point.
I think it would be seen as like really lazy and like underdeveloped if it dropped today.
Yeah, you know what? I have to agree.
Okay.
It would seem like one of the bottom of the barrel stuff on Steam.
Yeah.
Where like funnily enough, those games take inspiration from Slender. And like I was just gonna say though, even though I say it holds up, I'll boot it up for a friend. I probably won't boot it up for myself.
Okay. Yeah, that's important too.
I won't be like, oh, it's Halloween. I'm in the mood to get spooky and scared and shitless.
Like I said,
I probably won't. But I mean, maybe talking about it right now, I feel a little bit more like, oh, I want to play it. Just do a round, see if I still got it. But as in like 10 minutes from now, I'm not gonna feel that again.
like
I'll probably just watch creepypastas or some shit.
what I said before, the appeal to me, like the intrigue it initially had, was because I didn't know horror games were a thing.
Right.
Like I didn't know the classic like Silent Hill,
Which-
Resident Evil kind of stuff, but I didn't know indie horror was a thing.
Which also is important to add. There is a Minecraft mod for Slender to the 8 pages
Wow.
where it spawns Slender Man in your role and it'll chase after you.
Is it
until you find a
scarier?
way to them.
Is it more well
It
done?
honestly can be, because there are like some people who made like adventure maps that kind of made like a little maze, not like 1-to-1 comparison of like the map that's in the game, but
Mhm.
something similar, and it's chasing after you. And honestly, it gets the blood pumping
Mhm.
just a bit. It is kind of ominous because like just to think how big a fucking I like how I'm getting into Minecraft with this. But like how big the fucking world is, and then he's just like still there. But
Okay,
that was the most tangent I'm ever gonna get.
that's cool. Back to
I don't see
to Slender.
I don't see Amnesia having a Minecraft mod. No, do I?
I don't know.
I think there
can't
is,
speak because I
actually.
don't play it. But
I think there is.
Slender, I think, is a great example of it is. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get into like repeating ourselves territory here, but it's a product of its time. If it came out today, it would not have the same impact at all. It's definitely because of the circumstances surrounding its release, and the reason that it really took off was because of that kind of alone.
That's true. And I agree with you there, but I feel like if I got someone to play it like I did and kind of do, it might hold up for them in the moment, as they're playing it. But they probably would never touch it again.
I had something else I wanted to say.
Well,
Slender was a base. Like, it was the definition of like an idea that needed to be expanded on, to really like reach its full potential. And like I said, I think they did that down the line. And like, I wouldn't be opposed to another game in the same vein of Slender the Arrival that adds even more to it. But like, I guess Slender is not something worth trying to cash in on anymore, except that movie last
because
year.
it's just been kind of done to death.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Amnesia just kind of came, it kicked ass, and is like, it's still known
It's
for being like
yeah.
a legend in terms of survival horror and just a horror game, and then just kind of went.
It's
Like, there's nothing. It didn't like. It has like the 3 like games, I guess, and there's like the different I keep forgetting again the stories, the other stories,
custom.
story. God damn it, I have a learning, I have a thing,
Yeah.
I did the thing where my ideas.
I was gonna say the sequel was done by a different company and it wasn't as good. Apparently, I haven't played it. I still plan to at some point.
I mean, there wasn't like it didn't steamroll into like a whole franchise like say Five Nights at Freddy's did.
No,
or,
it was
or Slender.
It was all self-contained because
they're self-contained. That's what
they
I was
let
looking for.
everybody do their own custom stories, and like some people made some pretty damn good ones that I've watched on YouTube. I've seen
and
like Markiplier Play or whatever.
it's honestly surprising. If Amnesia probably came out now, what do you think would the reception be like?
I still think it would be good. I genuinely think it holds up.
Do you think?
I played it 2 years, less than 2 years ago. It held up.
Do you think it would like do the same thing as say Five Nights at Freddy's, and like spiral into like its own franchise and have like the big monster as a plushie or some shit?
If it came out right now,
If it came out today, yeah.
No, and it didn't at the time.
Possibly not either. So,
But like it would be okay. It would be like, it would be where it would have its place still. Like, I still think
yeah.
that it's a game that could come out today and be as fucking as praised as it was.
So then there's your leg to stand on with the with Slender not holding up today.
Well, yeah, and that's the argument.
If it came out, then it won't hold up as good as Amnesia would if it came out.
That's kind of what I've been standing on this whole time. So, let's vote.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
I vote Amnesia.
For a good while. I agree. I vote Amnesia.
Okay. So
we'll mark that down
Amnesia?
on the little clipboard.
Oh yeah, and then after
Amnesia moving forward.
After we barely even talked about Amnesia.
Kind of.
But like,
well, we brought it back.
I think we made our points.
We brought it back.
I think we
made our points about Amnesia by talking about Slender.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go out with a good couple swings,
That's cool.
Because I do like the game. Like, I built a lot of my interest over like horror and horror games because of that.
Mm-hmm. Me as well. It brought me into it, but everything we just said. So let's move on.
All right, next matchup here.
And then we are going to have to put the losers winners against each other right after, and this will be interesting. But before that, we've got.
Is this on the same side or the other side? I don't know how math works.
Huh?
It's like 2 on one side and 2 on the other side, right?
Let's just do it as we go because I'm confused with your question.
Okay, no, I'm confused too.
Resident Evil 7 versus Five Nights at Freddy's.
Resident 7 versus 5. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. The original Five Nights at Freddy's, for anyone who is just catching up now.
Versus
not the series.
Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I don't know why they always put Biohazard like in the name, but whatever.
Because Biohazard is the name of Resident Evil in the UK and
Japan, isn't it?
And other parts of the world.
Yeah, just the non-US.
Yeah, it's called
true.
Biohazard. Like up there, I have Biohazard 3. I found it at Bookman's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I picked it up because it wasn't called Resident Evil 3.
I knew that, but I just completely forgot.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, where the hell do we start with this? You want to talk about full game versus...
We can talk about...
FNAF is a full game.
We can talk about them like we were, just contrasting instead of focusing on one at a time.
Well, they're way completely different from each other.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, if you want to talk about... I don't know. There is a sense of progression in Five Nights, and I'll give it that. Because there's literally progression.
Right, and there is clearly like some story to follow as well.
If Five Nights went up against Slender, I would still have to say Five Nights gives you an ending.
That would be a bit... It does. And you know what? Probably Slender versus Five Nights would be a bit more of a fair show-off.
Yeah.
Which I think what we were expecting when we were writing the list, considering they're right next to each other. When we wrote the list like down in order.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just, I guess it's a matchup that's never going to happen. Instead, it gets paired up with some big dogs in the horror genre.
It's cool. I just wanted to say where I give FNAF credit.
I mean, we got fucking Freddy ass Fazbear against fucking Gram.
Yeah.
The mold monster, Gram. And Ethan, the fucking super soldier.
Resident Evil 7 is a very fulfilling experience. It's very...
Oh, yeah, and it can be...
It's not generic, and it's not... it is more traditional as a horror game, but
yeah,
but it's not like, and the original FNAF when it came out was very original, and
it was kind of the Slender Man of its time,
yeah,
which just kind of blew up and became a phenomenon, and then people just kind of tried to drop it, but it just wouldn't let up, Meanwhile, like they're both similar because I think also yeah, I know, right? They're similar.
Resident Evil 7 and
Five Nights.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah, I'll explain. Because they're both kind of self-contained in their own way. And that's the great thing about Resi 7 is that you can take that as its own. You don't have to know about the rest of the series. It's just kind of rewards you if you do, more or less near the end.
Yeah.
For like being a nerd about Resident Evil, but it's still its own self-contained thing. You can start it, you can finish it, never touch a Resident Evil game again. You're done. That's like...
Yep, when I played it, I didn't plan to get into the other ones, but I did.
Unlike Marvel movies now, where you don't need to know or worry about the universe of Resident Evil.
Yeah,
it's its own thing. And meanwhile, I guess when FNAF came out, when it was by itself, it was also its own thing because it was so original.
And it was intriguing.
Yeah, like when it had mystery around it before it just kind of like...
Now it's...
before it kind of went like a runaway train.
Now it's annoying, but it was intriguing at first.
Yeah. Because I guess with FNAF there was more like... there was a sense of dread just in the in the pizzeria,
Yeah.
In the venue that you're at. It was more like you're living through... It felt like you were living like through like a horrific event, honestly, rather than like it keeps talking about this legend of that was happening. And I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was like, I guess, a big event, I guess.
How much you don't understand really plays into its mystique.
FNAF or?
FNAF, yeah.
Okay.
It really leaves you wanting to figure it out, which is why the lore became such a big thing. But
right,
as I said, like eventually it got overblown. But with just the first game, it was pretty cool.
And meanwhile, Resi 7 also has like, you don't know what's going on, but like you kind of figure it out as you go through like a regular, with like a full length game.
Yeah,
like
Resident Evil 7 follows a much more traditional storytelling style.
But there's also like a whole bunch of mystery surrounding it because it's something different than the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm. They've
Or it
also
stands out on
got
its
some
own.
pretty original stuff in there. Things that are usually referenced are the tapes. How you get to play parts of the game before, like, you're playing it for real, like to practice.
Oh yeah, where you get to see like kind of live it like a flashback, but it's not.
Yeah, and it's like kind of a warning, and like that's how you figure out one of the major puzzles in the game.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a really cool aspect of the game.
and it gives you it's like kind of your tutorial for those sections, but once you've played the game through, you don't have to watch the tapes when you play again. So it's not like, oh, fuck, I have to do that again, even though it's unnecessary. You don't have to watch the tapes when you already know what you're doing.
I didn't know you didn't have to watch the tapes.
Yeah, you don't.
That's really cool, actually. Meanwhile, with FNAF, you have to keep listening to the phone guy ramble on for like...
You can mute him.
An in-game hour. You can mute him, but still, I don't think anything really happens.
He'll call every night, but you can mute him right away, and you don't have to listen to him.
Yeah. But also, like, the whole game... Well, I guess... It's not really a complaint, more or less an observation that the whole game just takes place in that one room.
Yeah, and I was going to say Resident Evil 7 has a lot of environments, which some are to its detriment.
But it's kind of the point of,
honestly,
of Five Nights at Freddy's that it's in that same room.
Yeah.
There's no real, like, lore explanation of why each night gets harder other than it's a game thing. That as you go on, like, difficulty has to rise.
It's like their AIs get harder, but like, I don't think
parallel to your learning curve. But
yeah, I don't think it explains at all why.
Sorry, go
why
on.
They would like get more active throughout the week, but like you do find out when you get to the custom night that like their AIs are
and that's the in-game explanation.
You can change their AIs,
and their aggression level, but like. The way I always like explained it in my head was like each night they get pissed off that they didn't get you, so they try harder.
That sounds like an explanation you would have come up when you were like 16.
What was that? That sounds like an insult.
I'm assuming you came up with that in 2014.
I mean, I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's the reason. It's not like it's a pressing issue. It's just like
I was just making a joke.
I just kind of like. That's just how I rationalize it. That's why they're getting like harder and harder, I guess.
See, here's the thing. Like, I don't try and rationalize it because I don't think it makes sense. That's every game.
Yeah.
Things get harder as you go, and
that's just the way the world works.
In games, yeah. That's not the way the world works outside of games.
But okay, there's actually some more similarities here than I thought, I guess.
Okay.
Because also, because let's see, both the games have VR modes, and they're both way better in VR.
You can't... Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted VR is an entirely different game that came out 5 years later.
Right. Well, it's not an entirely different game. It's just they took the same concept, but just put it into VR.
It's the first 3 games redone completely, and it has other modes. Like it's not Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, I'm just talking about the section where you play the first game. We're talking about the VR version. I'm not talking about the whole collection.
Right. Like I think it's cool to bring up that they added that now, but if it works better than the original, and we're talking about the original, then that sounds like a point against the original. Well, not necessarily, but like it's just the same thing I said with Slender. Like they improved it afterwards. Well, they've improved it since.
Well, same thing with Resident 7. It's better in VR.
Yeah, but it was released like that on launch.
Right.
That didn't come out 5 years later or anything like that.
Well, like because VR wasn't really a thing, it was a thing in 2014, but it wasn't. It was like a really rarity.
Yeah, the point I'm making is like it's been reimagined since it's been recontextualized in a more horrific manner.
Yeah,
since
just because I'm imagining both in VR, it makes you get up close and personal with the big monsters like the mold and the animatronics, or they're just big things towering over you. And like I remember when you're in the morgue in Resi 7, and like you pull the thing out, there's one just laying down there with like a key next to it. You have to go up and get it, but when you get it, he's gonna fucking come up after you. which is kind of similar to me. The similar feeling I had when I had to lean forward and close the door in Five Nights at Freddy's when they're literally walking past, like, right by the doorway.
Okay.
Which is scarier. I'll have to go with the FNAF VR, but as a game as a whole, of course, Resi 7.
Oh yeah,
because it stays. It stays.
It's got more to it than just jump scares.
Yeah, it stays fucky, and the whole premise will stay with you throughout the entirety of the game, rather than just an occasional .
It's got more to it all around. Resident Evil 7. It's more than just jump scares. It's more like it's got more atmosphere than FNAF 1, which I don't think has a bad atmosphere. I really don't, but like I think looking through the cameras is eerie, and like the little office you're in is not.
Yeah, when you see them like actually walking around and like see them staring at the camera, more or less Freddy's position was scary. Because like you just see like the little like pin dot eyes in darkness.
Yeah, there's.
Oh, can we also like before Five Nights at Freddy's goes away forever? Can we just talk about Golden Freddy for a second?
Well, sure, but I had something else to say.
Oh well,
I was gonna say about Resident Evil.
I'll make it quick. It's just Golden Freddy is such a fucking phenomena. Like it's not even guaranteed that you're gonna see him at all in your playthrough. And, like, he doesn't operate like the rest of the animatronics, so it's just something that transcends what you believe is, like, possible in the reality of that game.
I think Golden Freddy's a cool thing.
Yeah, he'll just pop into your room with all the fucking doors closed and just stay there, and then he'll crash your game. Like, it's almost like it's a ghost, yeah.
Unless you pull up the camera fast enough.
Yeah. There's no way to tell when he's coming either.
There is.
Oh, yeah, there is.
I was just going to say, do you see the face on the wall in one of the rooms? That's the only way you know.
Oh, also, I think
then you got to know what to do.
When you go through just the audio camera and you kind of hear something, I think I forgot what you hear, but yeah.
The only cue I know of is like the picture on the wall you see
also,
his
like
face.
seeing the hallucinations when it fucking shows Freddy's face and then I'm here or he's here or something? I was like, you see like those two words or something.
It's me.
It's me. Okay, I was like, I'm back. I'm big. I'm big. It's me. Big. Yeah. It's me.
Okay,
so what do you want to say about
Resident Evil? I wanted to say that. Well, I don't think FNAF 1 has a bad atmosphere. I think Resident Evil 7's atmosphere is so fucking good. Like by comparison, it knocks a lot of these games out of the park.
Oh yeah,
the mansion, like the house in Resident Evil 7 is already like a classic setting to me.
Oh yeah, it's really similar to like the old style Resident Evil and how it's set up like a labyrinth style. Which also, if you think about it really quick, isn't it weird how like that small family is living in such a big mansion?
Yeah, people get rich.
Like a big ranch. Oh yeah, it's like a ranch kind of thing. Yeah, people get rich. It happens.
I don't know. We didn't say too much about Resident Evil 7.
But we're trying to just make it a level playing field because, like, let's be real.
Yeah, it's okay.
Resident 7 is just kind of going to kick the shit out of Five Nights at Freddy's.
I voted too. Okay. That's what I was saying. It's about to win, and we're about to have to talk about it even more against Amnesia.
Well, yeah, so it's fine that we didn't even touch on it so much because, yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's gone forever. And we get to talk about both the games we didn't really get to talk about all that much now. So Resident 7 against Amnesia.
Hang on. Okay, quickly.
Let me get water while you run through this.
Oh. I was gonna say should we touch on Slender versus FNAF? He said no. Since you can't hear anything that he's saying right now. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm thirsty and we're gonna be talking
back.
For a while. Okay. So Slender versus FNAF. I guess we can like touch on it because that's what we kind of wanted. Yeah, I kind of wanted those two to be pinned up against each other.
Yeah,
I guess
okay,
if we're doing like
just
a
quick,
loser
just
bracket.
quickly like a one question thing for it. Because they were both products of their time. We think these two are actually like relatable.
And they got expanded quite a bit. And there was
they
a cult
blew
following.
the fuck up.
They both have cult followings.
Yeah,
ridiculously so. They
Which-
both operate in the jump scare kind of like horror.
Which one was better at their time then? Now we do have to contextualize it because these both have the same strength, I think, and it's that when they came out, they fucking blew the world away.
I feel like they're both pretty equal in that sense, in the context of that question. Oh, like which one did better? Like was scarier or like?
Yeah,
Because I think
I
Slender is still scary. It sounds like I've got like a boner for this game, but I really don't.
I would make a case for Five Nights at Freddy's, but I feel like we've talked about them both a lot, and I kind of touched on what my case for it would be anyway. That aside, we just want to spend like a minute on this, so I'm gonna vote Slender. We can give it to Slender.
Okay, hooray, yay, yippee!
Yeah. Now
no, for the main event.
For the not yeah, the main event of the losers bracket.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Which is Resident Evil 7 versus Amnesia.
What a matchup here.
I don't have mine picked out right now.
I don't either. I feel like with most of this, I sound like I'm like not gonna budge, but really, I'm open to being persuaded. Probably in this one of the most. So, you can make your case here for either, really. But I feel like maybe people have like already started comparing Resi 7 to Amnesia when it came out.
Really?
Because I feel like that's what most people do when a new horror game comes out. Is they compare it to Amnesia,
which says something.
Yeah, exactly. Like we said many times, it says just enough about how
influential it was,
how influential and like
impactful. It still holds up. That's why people do it. People don't compare modern games to FNAF or Slender.
Right.
That's just true.
That's just it's just branches growing on the tree of the genre, and like I guess Amnesia is pretty damn close to the trunk.
Here's the thing. Okay, I could be wrong, but do you think do you think Amnesia influenced Resident Evil 7? Think for a second. There was no other Resident Evil game like Resident Evil 7.
I'm sorry, just really quick. You made me think of the we just saw a Secret Window. Really quick, so you're like, think about it. I'm like, no.
I think that's a decent movie. We'll talk about that some other day.
Oh yeah, we'll get to like everything that we every piece of media we like at some point.
Let's do a bracket of Stephen King movies.
Oh goodness me.
I'd be intrigued to watch some more Stephen King movies. But all right, let's get on.
That could be a good subject actually. Stephen King movies. We'll get onto that later.
Let's get on from this. Back to the point. Amnesia.
Do I think Resident 7 was influenced by
Amnesia?
It
sounds weird, right? Because
I'm really trying to think.
Amnesia was an indie thing at the time, but it still took the horror genre by storm.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it just feels a bit distant from RE7. I feel like it could have been like
I mean, in terms of first person survival horror, we had like Resident Evil essentially like created the genre of survival horror.
But in Amnesia you can't fight back.
Yeah, I know.
And you don't really hide in Resident Evil 7.
Resident Evil never adopted the first person perspective.
Right.
Until after Amnesia existed.
Yeah, I forget how long ago Resident Evil's been around, but it's also it hasn't done it for a long time since Amnesia existed. Like,
Well, okay, wait.
we're talking about 2010 to 2016.
17, I think.
I think it was the end of 2016.
I think it was the beginning.
Oh
of
no, you're right. It was the beginning of
2017.
2017. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Not that that's relevant, but I guess
Close
it's
enough.
sort of relevant because I wanted to say like that game came out. That was new for Resident Evil. That was new territory for
yeah.
it,
So
and
I feel like
it came out into a world where, I think Amnesia like popularized first-person horror.
you can have you could have a point there. So like, I'm not gonna like.
Is Dead Space first-person horror?
I don't know.
Just because I
honestly.
don't have my facts down, so like I can't, like I can claim that Amnesia had that impact, but I don't know if it was the first of its kind.
Right. Honestly, I don't know because I wanted to. I think it's third person, but I just looked at. I'm looking at gameplay images and I'm seeing over the shoulder stuff. So yeah, it looks like it's third person.
Okay.
So like,
here's the thing.
You could have a point. And I'm not going to immediately deny it.
I believe Silent Hill 4: The Room
I'll kind of
is a first-person horror experience as well, though, and
also
that game
is
came.
PT.
That game came. Well, we're talking about like the time that stuff came out.
Okay.
I think Silent Hill 4 came out in like 2005 or something, and that was a first-person. Just because, like, if anyone watching this wants to argue that like Amnesia isn't the reason that that first-person survival horror existed before Amnesia.
I feel like also didn't PT come out in 2016?
I think it was like 2014 or 15.
Or somewhere around there. And that was also first person, and people hold that up. It's like a huge amount of praise.
PT definitely
Give it
fucking
so much
inspired the
praise.
shit out of Resident Evil 7.
Oh yeah,
And
like,
there is
no joke.
Like we got Resident Evil 7 instead.
So like, yeah, I feel like there's a closer comparison, but like
For sure. I'll give you that.
You can be honest something about Amnesia. I don't see it immediately,
But-
so I'm not gonna immediately deny it. I'm just gonna kind of take that whole idea and put it in my pocket, or just kind of keep that in mind as we're talking about it. Just because I feel like Resident Evil 7, yeah, could have taken a lot from PT, but it also could just be Capcom trying to do something completely different with their franchise. You know, after 5 and 6 fucking doing as well as they did, they were probably like, okay, we need to do something different. What are horror games doing now? And they kind of went back to their. I kind of see they went back to their roots with how the puzzles and the layout is done of the world. And they did some more modern things by introducing like characters and letting the story kind of follow suit.
Could Resident Evil 7 have been inspired by PT, which was inspired by the slew of games inspired by Amnesia?
Now we're getting like the trickle down effect. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know where first person survival horror started. I won't claim to, but I know Amnesia revolutionized it.
And I have to agree because I can't think of any.
And this is all outside.
horror.
This is context stuff I was saying that really doesn't matter earlier. It's kind of interesting to look at. When we get back to these two games on their own, what did it better, I guess?
Did survival horror do better, or did survival horror better? I mean, that's tough to say because you have
These games both did it great.
You have resources in Resi 7 to manage, and as well that you can have your disposal.
In Amnesia, you won't run out of space.
In Amnesia, though, you have a box of matches and lantern oil. And that's
you need other things. There are puzzles.
But there are puzzles, but then there are key items that also exist in Resident Evil as a franchise. But like those are kind of the only resources that you're gonna manage is like your tinderbox and which come in fucking spades.
Mm-hmm.
And lantern oil, which is like the real thing that you have to manage.
Yeah.
Is your lantern oil so you don't get your sanity
There are
down.
things to manage
But it's still possible to play the game with your sanity like all the way down, isn't it? To my knowledge.
Yes, I've heard that you can be hurt from it, but
But it takes a while.
I guess it must take a while.
It takes a good while and not as much. Meanwhile, in Resi 7, you have the classic the herb. No, it's not herbs. It's fucking goob juice, isn't it?
Something.
It's nonetheless
You
you have
pour
your
some
health.
first aid on you.
You have that. You have your health to manage, and your ammo, and inventory space.
Yes.
Because you don't have a whole lot of it. So, fuck me. You can get some key items and puzzles, but you might need to like get rid of space. You might need to make up some space. So do you get rid of ammo, healing items, or something, or another weapon potentially to free up that space so you can solve the puzzle? But then what's behind the door when you do the puzzle? Would it be a boss or more enemies? And what would you want to leave behind to go into that fight, I guess. So it's another type. It adds. It's a layer of, I guess, stress because you have to manage that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's got the classic Resident Evil stress factor to it.
Yeah, because it's a mental game, I guess.
Both of these games have puzzles,
and there is strategy involved with Amnesia, but it's more or less. And we're taking like. Using resources, like I just said, it's more or less you rely on instinct, and then you're most of the time right. Well, if like a monster's coming back after you the way you just came, and the way you need to go, and there's one hallway there, your instinct tells you turn around, run quicker, turn off your light, and then hide.
It's really
and then get behind him so you can go forward.
It's really genuinely scary to like.
So there's not much of a trade-off, I guess.
It's really genuinely scary to like start peeking out too when you're hiding in Amnesia.
Oh yeah, like that's true, and you have to like use your hearing, like we were talking about last episode with FNAF 4. If you have to use your hearing in a horror game, that it makes it immediately more terrifying. Which I'm surprised they don't use in modern horror games.
Mm-hmm. I think if you once you play through the game on your own in like a dark room with headphones on, I think you'll really appreciate all the atmosphere and the horrific aspects of it.
That's probably true, yeah.
I was saying both of these games feature puzzles, and you can't really comment much on Amnesia puzzles, I know, but so this is kind of like a point you can't even argue, but I had more fun figuring out Amnesia's puzzles generally.
What I will say is Resident Evil 7's puzzles aren't really the most like brain thinky, I guess. I would say intuitive, but that's not the right word. They're not really like, they don't really make you think. Like they have the shout out puzzles, which is cool, but in reality you can just kind of just keep going until it pretty much just fits into place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a whole lot of logic puzzles behind it. It's like, it's kind of like like the classic Resident Evil formula, where it's kind of like Metroidvania, where like lots of places are unlocked until you later on get a key for something, then you unlock this, and then you're kind of like going in like a linear path almost to unlocking the rest of the mansion.
There was a big letdown for me in Resident Evil 7 for when Anza and I were playing it on the channel, and you go into the son's room and you have to get up into the attic. I don't know if you remember.
No,
but
I remember.
There's a bunch of stuff lying around in the room. Like there's numbers and there's notes and there's all these things, and like I remember we got excited, like we have to figure out a puzzle here, and like it actually seemed like something we had to put together. And we tried to do it for like 20 minutes and we couldn't figure it out. We gave up. We looked it up, and there was just like a vase sitting on the table with a lockpick in it.
Oh,
like it had nothing to do with any of the shit sitting around.
Right.
It was something to that extent, and it was like, it was kind of disappointing because like it made us feel dumb, but like also like I guess it just seemed like there should have been more to it.
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss because it also does recycle the broken shotgun on the mantle. That's a pressure plate for the door, and switch out with the broken one. So
But
you get a
I
real
get
shotgun.
why they did that. I get the callback, and that's cool.
It's cool.
I like that,
it's
but also yeah,
you find the broken shotgun, like you see it in Gram's room, and you're like, every item that you get in the game, you know exactly where it's going. You know exactly what to do with it.
It is a callback, but in like what did you in and of itself being a callback, it's unoriginal.
Yeah, it's a bit recycled.
Yeah, it's recycled. There you go. I'm not saying like unoriginal as
It's not
a
really
bad thing. It makes you be like, hell yeah.
It's a double-edged sword in
Yeah,
that sense. Or it's like hell yeah, like cool callback if you know Resident Evil 1. But at the same time, if you know that, then it's like, wow, this again. You know?
And the other puzzles I can remember, like there was the clock puzzle. It was really easy.
The room that the sun makes for you, like the saw type room.
Oh yeah,
that didn't disappoint me.
I was just gonna say
it's the first time when you figure it out though is like the real like you get that eureka sort of thing. But then on other playthroughs you just kind of know it, you know. It's like
I was gonna say on the other hand, the puzzle that you watch the tape for, and then that you have to, the one you're talking about,
right,
with the fire and the clown and the balloons and everything,
the birthday cake, yeah,
all that stuff. That's a good one.
Oh yeah. And like the little the marionette puppet when you put a tan in there, or like the pen knife, and it fucking carves in like the solution into your arm. It's a little brutal.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's cool, you know.
And the numbers that he carves into you are 1408, which I think is supposed to be a reference because that's a Stephen King.
1408, yeah.
It's Stephen King.
The movie.
If not, then whatever. But if it is, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's cool because you don't, if you get the reference, cool, and if you don't, it has
your
its
code.
It's in its own context, I guess.
But like, there's also some things about that part, you should be able to, once you know that code, it should let you put it in on like repeated playthroughs, but you still have to go through everything.
Right. So I guess that's so to prevent you from breaking the puzzle, but
and right before that, when you get to that door and he tells you like 3 codes, but none of them are the right code. And then if you sit there and try and put them in, you'll get fucking hit taken out by the big swinging fucking whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
if you try
the pendulum thing.
Yeah, with whatever it is, it fucking one hits you up against the wall. And
that
happened to us, error, so it was like, oh come on, like
a little trial and error, that part.
I guess like it's supposed to be common sense, like you're not supposed to trust this guy, leave the room. But
because he gives you like 3 different codes.
Yeah. So if you sit there and try all 3 of them, then you stay there too long and you will get hit.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like I do remember a couple puzzles from Amnesia when I played, and they're kind of similar to Resident Evil in that you have to use your environment to unlock the next kind of place. Like I remember, like there's some gear type puzzle, and then you have to like. There's another one where you like pull levers down for like to activate steam or something to go through.
I know I always had fun with the puzzles in Amnesia, which could just be my preference. But I felt
even the ones that I remember, like the vaguely from what I remember in Amnesia, remembering my experience with figuring it out, I think it was better than the ones in RE7.
Okay, and
7 specifically, just because it's kind of you don't really have to think all that much for Resi 7 puzzles.
Well, I'm thinking about this. Are there any parts of Amnesia that I dread getting to upon replaying?
Yeah, you know what? I was just about to bring that up because like I think there is an elephant in the room, or should I say there's a boat in the room?
There is.
Should we address the boat?
Well, we already did before when we were talking about that, and that's what I'm saying. Resident Evil 7's last third or so.
Yeah, I was literally just wanting to get through because I realized as I was talking this whole time, I'm like,
it holds it
there's
back.
there's no boat section really in
Amnesia.
Even like near the end that I've seen you play, if anything, that part looks fucking scary as shit for me to play too. Because it's like a big open hall, isn't it?
The end part's fine. Like the end is still. There isn't a
it's
part
as
that
good quality as the rest of the game.
The parts that you dread in Amnesia are because they're scary.
Not because it's a chore.
Because it can scare you on repeated playthroughs.
Yeah,
and it's not a chore. It's just like
it's
genuinely tense, like in the fearful way.
The thing you dread is the monster coming the same path you went through that you have to backtrack and you have to get around him. Not in the sense that it's a chore, but you have that obstacle to get past, and it's tense to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It's a bum clencher.
I don't think I have a section in
There's no
Amnesia that I dislike.
To be fair, like Resident Evil 7 has great atmosphere, especially in the beginning of the game when it builds up the house and the family and the virus that's going on. But in the game as a whole, there's no real tense bum clenchers that are just from the game. The closest thing is
the beginning.
I was gonna say the closest thing is when you run out of ammo on the boat, but that's not scary because it's just like it's more or less a headache that's happening in your butt.
I think the most tense thing for me, and the reason
it's like a headache happening in your butt.
the part of the game, like I will typically, if I'm gonna show someone something like horror game, every like friend I invite over.
Yeah, the beginning.
It's the first half hour of Resident Evil 7.
The beginning of Resident Evil 7, it's tense, but it's not like the same tensity when you have to get away from the monster and Amnesia.
But
it's kind of like
it is genuinely like horrific.
It's more or less you have like a pit in your chest because it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
You know, like you're going, like when you see the stairs when you have to walk down it when it's dark. Immediately it's just like that. It's not like, oh shit, I have to get going. It's just like, oh no, oh please don't make me do this. Oh no, the king's making me do this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, same thing when is his name Jack Baker,
the dad.
Yeah, when he starts chasing you around, breaks through walls and shit. That's the same type of thing.
Yeah,
not so much as the Amnesia monster, but yeah, it's like, oh no, come on, don't make me do this.
Yeah,
or like when it locks you in a room with him and you have to fight him. It's tense in those moments, but in a different way.
Yeah.
If you catch what I'm like throwing down.
I do. And I think I've made up my mind.
We're talking a good amount on this. So I think I made up my mind. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to like, I don't know, maybe cement whatever you're thinking. Because, RE7 has the VR version. What would you think if Amnesia had VR? Like if you were
you can never be quite sure if something will translate like that, but I would definitely be willing to try it out, and I think it could be a horrific experience,
because
especially
you can, like,
with having to actually like peek around the corner.
Yeah, peeking around the corner and everything.
To look around
and seeing the monster kind of coming at you. I think that would be great, actually. But
I'm not knocking any points off of it for not having VR.
Yeah. Who knows? They might end up doing it. Like they might pull a FNAF.
That's a series I wouldn't mind seeing get a reboot if it was done like by the original people.
I guess to pull a madness crutch to like cement what we think, since both the games will hold up to this day.
Yes.
And they're great experiences. Which one do you think you're more willing to pick up and play?
Oh, hang on.
Those are all the games that you've had. The only 2 games you've had.
By the way, on the topic of VR, Resident Evil 7 in VR might very well suck one day. Because we are very early in the VR. Like, because VR is gonna get refined, and it might by like the year 2025, it might be a fucking joke.
It might be like, oh, this is a clunky piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck are we, Rayman with our fucking floating hands?
Yeah, exactly. Which is irrelevant. Amnesia doesn't even have VR. I just wanted to mention it quickly.
It could be, that before potentially we never talk about Resident Evil 7 again.
Okay, so which one would I just like boot up to play through?
Yeah, which one would you play again?
Okay, so
Or,
if
like,
I was
playing
gonna
your
boot
own?
one up and play through it all the way, it would be Resident Evil 7. If I was, but the reason for that is Amnesia. How can I explain this? Because I played Resident Evil 2 and 4 over and over again.
Well, I think it's just because you
it's
like
that kind of game like that I can redo over and over, but I would dread the boat and the mines every time. Amnesia is kind of like when something's really good and you don't want to do it too much. So like
it's a commodity.
You make it special every time you do it. So like I would play Amnesia again if I found someone who hasn't, and I wanted to share it with them.
Or like you want to bust it out. It's been a while, and you want to like.
Yeah.
And you know what? And that's a good thing. I probably, if I'm applying my own question to myself, I'm probably a bit 50-50. And I get what you mean why you said like RE7, because like, well, we're both fans of the Resident Evil franchise. We like the type of game, so we'll probably just go with that because we like that kind of style.
They've got that aspect to them of replayability.
Yeah, but you said that you played RE2 and 4 a bunch.
They all become speedrunnable.
RE7 was the game you played the least.
I did play it through at least like 4 times, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's still the least probably, isn't it?
Yeah.
You probably
it has less replayability than 2 or 4 to me.
Okay, quick off-topic question. Which would you play more, 1 or 7?
7.
Because I'm just asking because 1 is still
one is
fairly
always
new to you.
One is always stressful, but that's another one that like Amnesia that I might want to show to someone every few years.
Or you might want to make it a little bit more of a specialty, I guess. I don't know what the fuck, like a delicacy. I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
I would probably play RE7 if I wanted a Resident Evil experience like TM, and I wanted just like a good old fun time. But if I actually genuinely wanted like to
immerse yourself into
in a spooky night and to be scared of something, I'd play Amnesia.
Okay, so I think that says something. I still don't know if we're on the same page or not, but let's vote. This one's gotta be a 3-2-1 because it's not obvious.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Amnesia. Okay. All right, we're on the same page.
Woo!
I'm a little surprised. I didn't know what I would choose going in.
I think we finally talked about those 2 games
to their
and we didn't talk about them a whole lot in the last few rounds here. Hey, also, good thing is happening. The sun is setting and it's finally getting dark again. So we're setting the mood.
Yes. So the losers bracket goes as follows. Amnesia is the best of the losers. Then Resident Evil 7, Slender, and Five Nights at Freddy's. In that order.
Amnesia, Resi 7.
That makes sense to me.
Slender, then FNAF.
Yeah, I think we've done some good work.
I think that makes perfect sense. I think I knew in my heart FNAF was going to be all the way at the bottom before starting this, and it was a toss-up between Amnesia and Resi 7. I figured like talking about it was gonna kind of teeter one of us over the edge, and it definitely it made me lean way more over to Amnesia talking about it.
Our winners bracket.
Here we go, the main event. Before we do that, let's divide it up into like the 2 halves, and let's get into our sponsors.
Wait, what? Do you need a pee?
No, I don't.
Or you're just making a joke?
I'm making a joke. Good. Talking Shit is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club.
No, it sure is not.
If you need to quick shave your butthole,
if you
join
want,
Dollar Shave Club.
If you want.
Hey, actually sponsor us. We'll fit in like a good 5 minutes here. We'll put it right in the middle of each episode.
Hell yeah. Winners bracket time.
Here we go.
Okay.
What was highly anticipated for everyone here.
We've got Outlast versus Resident Evil Remake.
Yikes, damn, that's tough. Outlast versus Resident Evil original remake.
Yes.
Original. That's like an oxymoron. Original remake.
That's what we've got on our hands.
Fuck, where do we start with this one?
So compare and contrast.
Time.
These are two very different games.
Oh, without question. Like, easily. Like, but you know what? This is literally just Amnesia and RE7, just with their like with their other family members.
Yeah, but these two do. It's funny that these ones are in the winners bracket.
Yeah, that is a little
comparatively
interesting. Yeah,
comparatively, like I know this like.
I mean,
this makes the bracket seem like it didn't do its job.
Yeah, no, this is my favorite thing about these madness brackets is like, wait, this is in the winners?
Yeah.
Both of these.
Because
like I feel like now we're on the losers bracket.
It makes it seem like they didn't do its job because I feel like if we put RE7 and RE1 together, we might have gone with 7, and if we put Amnesia and Outlast, we definitely would have gone with Amnesia, and that would put both of those in the winners.
Yeah, I mean,
like just to break the fourth wall here a little.
That's kind of like that's really breaking the fourth wall. That's just like
I guess
just seeing it in a different circumstance. I guess, and that's why these madness type brackets are not really.
It's cool.
You don't really have to take it like too seriously.
Yeah,
it's just interesting to see. It opens up to talking about and comparing everything.
Yeah.
With that said. Let's get into not their ugly brothers, just their older and younger siblings comparatively. With Amnesia being their younger brother and
no, Amnesia's the older brother. Of
Outlast.
I mean
Outlast is the younger brother of Amnesia, and Resi 1 is the older brother of 7.
Yes. Okay. Now to actually talk about the games. How do you compare these? I'm just gonna be transparent here. I know my choice already, but we're gonna talk through this.
I don't.
Okay, that's good.
I'm kind of leaning on one side more, and that's you can probably tell, but I'm willing to be persuaded and teetered over.
Well, I'm not gonna get right into that right away. I feel like we have to give them both their attention that they deserve, but. Where to start with this?
Well,
these are both games that kind of have, as we said, like the false sense of fear that's actually more stress manifesting as horror.
That's fair. I thought you were gonna say it's a false sense of safety, which is also apparent. So there's like a double entendre thing. Where it's like it's false sense of fear, where it's not technically fear, but you never really feel safe in either games either.
As far as false sense of safety, that's where, like I said before, Outlast misses the mark. That's where Amnesia did well. It actually had some areas that were safe, and sometimes you knew they were safe, and other times you weren't sure, and there would be nothing there, but you would have been terrified the whole time.
Right.
Which, again, that's Amnesia. We're not talking about that anymore. But in comparison of these two, Resident Evil has the rooms that you don't know if you're safe or not, the same way Amnesia does, and I count that as a strength. And the safe rooms, are safe, and that's.
But they have the trademark safe room music that still make you feel solemn and dread. It's calming and it's also melancholy.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's great. Like the safe room music is some of the best shit to come out of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And I wish some of the more modern ones kind of did that same thing where you can actually hear the music.
Yeah.
Because like music can absolutely be used to its effectiveness.
If we're gonna get on music here,
it's absolutely
we just have to start out with. I don't think we even knew there was music in Outlast if there was. So
yeah, exactly. But meanwhile, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely, points will go to Resident Evil because even in not the safe rooms, there's so
and it knows when not to use music, which is a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's just dead silent. And then sometimes when like you're kind of like having a revelation or something, then like strings will be doing that that vibrato shit like way up, scaling up.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded like the Silent Hill thing.
The mandolin.
The mandolin, yeah.
I love Silent Hill's music.
Yeah, we can definitely touch into that.
Oh yeah, because the next matchup actually both have some good soundtracks.
Both have great. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to that. But I teased myself.
Yeah, we just keep not wanting to do this matchup.
We just don't want to keep talking. We just don't want to talk about RE Remake, which is funny because it's a really good game. Because it makes you feel, it made me feel tense like no other game really has the whole time. But it may or may not be completely attributed to how genuinely scary the game is.
And
just some gameplay elements that would kind of help boost it.
And the same with Outlast. These are both games that are frustrating that I don't think, like, I didn't even play Outlast, but I don't think I'll ever play it again.
I don't think so either. But, like, we keep saying that, oh, Resident Evil isn't really scary because, it's raw atmosphere, like, what it's doing. It's because of its gameplay elements. But can we really knock it for that? Because we're like, knocking points off for being what it is. It's using the fact that it's survival horror to its advantage and making you feel tense and stressed.
It depends if we're talking about fear and being scared, then I think that we can.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
tension and stress aren't the same thing.
Well, yeah, we talked about that with RE7 and Amnesia.
Yeah, and
what mostly gave me points for Amnesia was that it was doing more scares with less.
Are either of these
than Resi 7 had?
Are either of these really like horrifying?
But if you look at a game, I'm just saying, if you look at a game like RE Remake, where it's a fixed camera angle and you have these like really low poly ass zombies chasing after you,
it's still scary the first time. Like, I remember when you entered a room and there was a zombie, even though it wasn't like a jump scare, a sound didn't play or anything, like just something being there was actually like unnerving. It's
we had one zombie chasing after us and we're like, ah!
Not just stress, like,
and not to mention,
there is some horror to Resident Evil.
Yeah, not
Remake.
to mention Crimson Heads either.
Yeah, the things you encounter are actually, and like you mentioned, the hunter and the way it's introduced.
Yeah, I think also because of the mansion, of how like wide open and spread out, and how when you're in the first room, it feels just empty.
Yeah, you just the clock.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought you were saying those were footsteps.
You hear lots of those too.
Yeah, and it's just quiet. It's so empty. It's quiet. Like, even if there are like zombies in other rooms, you feel like you'd hear them banging on doors and anything. But no, it feels empty. Kind of like, really quick, I'm not, because I can go down this whole rabbit hole. Kind of like how the Overlook Hotel feels in The Shining.
Okay.
And like how it's shot with the wide angle lens to make it feel empty. Kind of the same thing that's doing with Resident Evil Remake, which also it kind of piggybacks off the same thing in the police station with RE2, but that's a whole different game to get into.
So
meanwhile, like, Outlast is constantly trying to be in your face.
I was gonna say we covered Resident Evil a bit. The biggest problem with Outlast is I don't have much to say about it. Not much more than what we already covered with it. It's definitely like inspired by Amnesia. Like, it's that kind of game. You can't fight back, but it's a survival horror experience where you have to find, like the flashlights are, and your batteries might as well be your oil.
Right, you have to manage your batteries.
Might as well be your oil.
But you get batteries so often, like, it's just kind of like, it's just not really relevant.
Which isn't the same in Amnesia, I would say.
It doesn't end the world if you don't find a battery either.
Uh-huh.
Honestly. It doesn't degrade your sanity or anything. So the batteries are kind of fucking useless, honestly.
And you find like some notes.
Yeah,
you find the same way you do in Amnesia, like.
But those just add to, like, I guess, the world and lore. So it's not really a gameplay or horror aspect. It's just a piece of paper. Oh, okay. And then you just kind of toss it.
Uh-huh.
And like, the way it's trying to do scares at you is like, I feel like in Outlast, I'm going through like a theme park ride, like a theme park haunted house, or like the things that that rich white people do on Halloween.
Okay.
Or just they set up a haunted house and they get friends to like jump out at you and scare you with like the masks on, and like
Yeah.
it's just kind of like a role play like haha thing. Meanwhile, in Resident Evil Remake, I feel like I'm actually in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I ended up here and like I'm spending this whole night in this haunted house and I can't find my way out. So
Right, and if
meanwhile,
you
one
open
is a
the-
theme park attraction, one is an actual phenomena.
And if you open the door, then you will get jumped by
Yeah,
dogs.
and every door is like, every door that opens, it's just like, oh shit, what's behind this? Where am I gonna be? Meanwhile, in Outlast, if a door opens, it's like, oh, finally, a fucking door open. Half of these don't work.
What's cool about Outlast is the setup. Like, the atmosphere is pretty good. I do think it's a detriment that you're always looking through the night vision, which you talked about in a positive light. I'm going to give, like, for me, the negative aspect of that is the entire game is very samey.
Okay, right. There's no real variety happening.
With the environments, like,
And meanwhile,
even if they are different, they feel the same because
and meanwhile,
everything sort of looks the same in that light.
Yeah, in Resident Evil 1, like, you get like really kind of almost calming like environments, like there's one where you go out in the backyard and you're in that cemetery. That's a little dark, but when you're out in the courtyard with like the fountain and like trees around you, it's a lot more variety that you're getting, and even in the enemies too. Like, it's not just zombies that are after you. You have the fucking bees, giant spiders, and that big ass snake in the library.
And there's multiple settings. Like, you think about the residence itself, of course.
Yeah, and
that's the most notable place. But there's the paths outside themselves are areas, and where they lead to, like the house where you find Lisa, and the guest house.
Right.
Where you have to go underground, where there's like fucking sharks, and
and also when you go underground in the graveyard.
Yeah, there's the underground.
Where that Crimson Head is.
There's the underground sections. No. I meant there's like the part where
sharks,
with the fucking Indiana Jones boulder parts. Like,
yeah.
There's the undergrounds. There's
a lot of different areas.
There's some different stuff going on there.
And like, I guess Outlast and Resident Evil are similar in that they take place usually like in that one building. I mean, Outlast 1, you are running around outside for a bit, but you're like, it's weird because you have that short field of vision, but you also have that short field of vision in Silent Hill, and it works way better.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in like Outlast, I'm constantly running into shit. I don't know where I am, and there's a person. Fuck, gotta run. Hope I don't fucking bump into a wall or tree or some shit.
It's supposed to be about the panic you feel getting chased and not knowing where to go, but like, it's such a fine line between that and just frustration.
But the whole game is just funneling you in one direction. So it's weird how, like, in both games, you're in this huge building, but it feels more like a building in Resident Evil because of how interconnected it is. When as soon as like you find one door and it's locked from the other side,
and you got your map,
and then you go and you have a map too, and you go around. You progress through the game, and then you find the door, and it opens, and then you're right back to where it was locked from the other side in the beginning of the game. And like by the end, like you said in the last episode, you really know the resident, the mansion, by the end of the game.
Yeah.
And in Outlast, I couldn't name you one location like that really I was like, oh yeah, I was here like quite a bit. I'm just constantly. It feels like you're running in a straight line, and that's why I say it feels like a haunted house, like some people threw up for a party, because you are just going in a straight line with like curtains over like the rest of like the doors and curtains over the curtains, curtains over all the other shit, and that you're just going in a straight line.
I want to say the people in the asylum in Outlast were pretty good. They were a good touch.
Oh yeah, like
the
insane
the
people
personalities,
are
the personalities you find in there, There's some like really dark comedy at some parts too.
A lot of naked people,
like just them talking to each other. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, like I think
nice touch.
I think an insane asylum with people in it, like actual lunatics being set free, that's probably the most horrifying thing.
Yeah.
Like, to anybody, like it's weird. Like people, if I gave you a would you rather spend the night in an abandoned jail cell, or like a huge underground jail, or an abandoned mental facility?
Oh, okay. I had one for you.
People wouldn't choose the mental facility. They would say that one is scarier.
I was gonna
most
say,
of the time.
Would you rather spend a night in the asylum in Outlast as it is, or abandoned? Because maybe you'd prefer it to be abandoned.
Yeah, you would. or you know, like if you like those naked people, just like set up a disco ball and just get to raving. You know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I thought you were gonna say, would you rather spend a night in the asylum as it is in Outlast, or the Spencer Mansion as it is in Resident Evil?
See, that's irrelevant because my answer is the Spencer Mansion.
I would say same here.
Okay,
you'd actually have a safe space.
Well, that's irrelevant because
home, but yeah,
that's irrelevant because I think it's voting time, and I'm voting Resident Evil.
I'm voting vote Resident Evil as well.
Okay. Let me write that down.
we kind of didn't really have closing thoughts. It just kind of like ended abruptly, but there's not really much more to say, I think, about...
I never felt like I had much to say about
games.
Outlast. Only in comparison to Slender.
I think the point I made about the haunted house things is what put me over to Resident Evil a lot more.
Yeah, but that's why when you asked the question there at the end of like, which would you rather stay in? Like, if you were trying to prove that like Resident Evil's the scarier game, the problem there is I would rather stay in that mansion.
Yeah, because it's an actual home. It was kind of like not a real point I was trying to drag
yeah,
along.
It's just something you brought up, I guess. Hang on.
Yeah, just like a little, this is funny.
All right, everyone. The one we've all been waiting for.
The actual main event. The coup de grace.
Doki Doki Literature Club versus Silent Hill.
Versus Doki Doki Literature Club versus Silent fucking Hill. Okay, yeah, take the pen away from me. I'll definitely finish it with that one. There's no game in front of me.
Okay.
Where to begin? I really wish I actually wrote up a paper.
Wrote something up.
Yeah.
These games both go for psychological horror.
Yeah, these two are really similar in how they do scares. I think we got blessed in like how this turned out, because some games were pretty similar. I was kind of having like, I guess there are similarities here, like with NAF and Resident Evil or Amnesia, whatever the fuck it was paired up with. Here, these two are actually really similar in how it fucks with you. Because
it still does it in different ways.
It both deals with like the main horror is that you're in your own purgatory, and it's a mental type of purgatory. Except in the gameplay of Outlast, it's more of a physical thing. It doesn't get revealed to you later that it's mental.
Wait. You're talking about Silent Hill.
Silent Hill. I said Outlast. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm still in Outlast mode. Yeah, in Silent Hill, it is mental, but the gameplay is physical.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's presented as like an entire different physical world where maybe you don't, like, if you're not paying attention, you could miss.
Yeah.
That it is psychological.
But Silent Hill is just an idea. Like the town of Silent Hill is an idea it's like an idea of evil, I guess.
But you could miss the whole point if you just think like, oh, it's spooky now.
Yeah, like it's just, or even when you're like walking around, it's just like the fog and shit. You're still in that purgatory.
Yeah.
Just it's less like torture and hell happening. It's just kind of the purgatory of isolation, I guess, where you're in your own head. And meanwhile, Doki Doki has themes of this, like at the end where you're just talking with Monica, and There's just the time just doesn't exist anymore.
Now, what I have to throw
Like,
out here,
all the characters are facing their own personal hell
yeah,
right under your nose and you don't see it.
what I have to throw out here is one of them is a lot more subtle, and it's Silent Hill.
Go on.
Because I'm not talking about presentation, but I do feel like Doki Doki does feel the need to explain everything by the end of it.
Go on.
Like the way the story unfolds, you know exactly what happened. And in Silent Hill, it's a lot more open-ended.
Right.
In Silent Hill,
Okay.
there's multiple endings for one thing, but then you wake up, or you just see Harry wake up after. At least in the ending we got, you just see him wake up, and like you're kind of confused.
Yeah.
Because in other endings, like, did Harry die in a car crash? You don't really know what happened, and there's like still theories about it because of the way it was presented. But you know what happened with Doki Doki.
Yeah, in the actual events, you're right. And there's a lot more open-ended, which Silent Hill gets a lot of points for. But I think in like...
If you find that scarier. In Doki Doki, by the end, you do know everything. And, you know exactly what happened, but that's not a point against... I'm not saying that it is ineffective.
Well, it's just that also Silent Hill has a lot of psychology behind it.
Mm-hmm. Like, imagine if you didn't know at the end of DDLC, if you didn't know that Monaco's fucking with you the whole time. Like, imagine if it wrapped up in a way where you had to kind of figure that out.
It wasn't clear if it was Monica or not.
If there was more, or if there was less clarity to it. If it wasn't wrapped up in the way it was. And I love how the game wraps up.
You know,
that's my favorite part.
I've never thought of it that way.
But this is one of your big things, I know, with horror, is you prefer things to be open-ended like that. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
I do like that.
Ambiguity.
I love the way how it ends. Like, I feel as though it's really best left untouched for what it is. Which I can't really say often. The same thing with Silent Hill. I'm like, there's nothing I would change about either of them. Could I see something different happen for them? Sure. Like what you said about it being ambiguous. I'm like, oh, that would be cool. But I wouldn't really prefer that because I just love how the way it kind of happens.
Me too.
You know? But what I don't mean what I prefer in horror is left ambiguous. I mean what's left to the unknown. Not really knowing what's happening, but why something's happening, I guess.
Mm-hmm. As far as actual presentation, Doki Doki gets the point for subtlety.
Oh, yeah. Like, in terms of an execution and actually, like, making you feel unnerved and, like, actively frightening you, Doki Doki is the scarier experience. But it depends on what you find scarier, I guess. Because, like, Silent Hill was also from Japan. And they more or less, from my understanding, like for like Western audiences, what's scary is like a force of nature type monster or a threat coming after you, which is like really apparent in all types of horror. There's always some monster or a serial killer or something coming after you, and in places like in other cultures like Japan, there's no real monster ever really coming after you, unless like it's like really old, like Godzilla or something. In Silent Hill, it's more or less fate and your own mental state is what's scary, and that you could be left to your own hell from the sins that you've done, pretty much. And then there's no escape from it. Is what I mean. Like being stuck with into this state and not having an escape from it. That is also scary to think of It's just a scary thing that will keep you up at night rather than giving you an instinctual feeling that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Silent Hill, it takes the psychological theories of the conscious mind and the unconscious, which I think you've like taken some psych classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think some people here would know basic like Carl Jung type psychology, where it's like, you know, the conscious mind is like where we are like 80% of the time, you know, where we're just living our lives. That's where our personality is. That's what we want to show people. And the unconscious mind is like everything that is like primordial instincts, and that is not bound by like moralities or what we think is right or wrong to do based on, or like anything based on society. And Silent Hill is kind of the blur between the unconscious and the conscious mind. I forget exactly what it's called. Not the subconscious, but it's a gray like state where like you kind of know the things like the bad parts about you, but you kind of like shove that down as little back parts of your psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is any like making sense or how this
I
applies.
decided to let you go on that.
I don't know how you see how this applies to Silent Hill, but it does in the sense that it's the main protagonist is struggling with that, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. And DDLC also does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where like all the girls' things that they're struggling with is kind of in the unconscious because it's not brought up to the player to see. They don't know what's happening. And like the poems and all the subtleties that happen in the game are like that gray blur area. And then later on, as the game progresses, the unconscious becomes conscious. Literally what Monica says in one of like the text files that appear, she said, I didn't make Sayori kill herself, or I didn't make any of these girls do any of these things. All I did was untie the knot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that wraps it up beautifully.
No, I got what you said.
Like it just takes everything that they have in their unconscious and bring it up front to their conscious, so they just do all these horrific things, mostly to themselves.
Yeah.
But also Monica isn't exempt from that. She's doing all these horrific things because she had that epiphany, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to put it into Freudian terms, it's like, or no, in Carl Jung, it's the shadow, I guess, that is like at control, that they're letting kind of just do everything, essentially.
Right.
I went on for quite a bit.
Yeah, I just figured I'd let you.
But that's why like it's fascinating to get into both of these games, because they do psychological horror so well, and I think there's enough material, like I said, for me to write a paper on it, or maybe do like a video essay or some shit on.
I do want to, now that you've gone through all that, I do want to take it to another question, or just like
by all means, yeah,
or a thought about these games, which is similar to other games on this list. Silent Hill has like the replayability for me. I haven't replayed it since. I don't know when I will again, but it definitely has like, I would play that game the same way I would play a Resident Evil game for fun, and also to like just immerse myself in that world and feel like to experience it again. It's got the replayability factor. There are multiple endings. There's stuff to be discovered, and there's some variety to the way it can be played to a degree. There's like you can find different things to get different endings. Like you don't have to kill Sybil. We did, because we didn't
know what to do.
We didn't find an item in the game, and there was also another sub quest kind of thing that we didn't do that could have given us a different ending, and so there's more stuff that we could find, and like it was fun. I liked the puzzles a lot.
Oh yeah, the puzzles were amazing. They beat out most Resident Evil puzzles.
And like there's immediately replay value there because depending on what difficulty you're on, you'll get different ones.
Because the puzzles in Silent Hill really require you to think and basically figure them out with logic.
It's really cool.
And your own intuition. Yeah, they're really great puzzles.
Like the only thing that fucked with us as far as the puzzles were, we were doing it as a let's play. But even then, like it still felt like you felt good. You felt good to figure them out.
It's also we didn't know the limitations of like what was possible with those puzzles. Like we were I remember we were trying to like get the hand open so many times, so we can get that item there. But we just couldn't.
Hang on.
With the replayability thing,
I was going to transition that to Doki Doki, which Doki Doki has a totally different strength. It's going to be extremely effective the first time.
Oh yeah.
And then it becomes more of something to share.
That's what I was going to say. I would revisit Silent Hill to experience it for myself.
Yeah.
But I would show Doki Doki to anyone, yeah. Literally, I'm going to be making Sarah play it soon. For herself.
Yeah, Doki Doki Literature Club has a huge impact the first time you play it. And then it's never quite the same again, but you still respect it for like... It's meant to do. That's what it's meant to do.
It's really like the less you know about it, the better.
Yeah. And there is replayability to a degree, depending on which girl you choose to pursue throughout the game. But like ultimately,
and the random stuff that happens too.
Ultimately, as far as when the twist and everything goes down, those parts do remain the same.
Yeah,
but
like, it's still a fair. You get the same end result.
The first time you play is easily like that sticks with you.
It's easily like
it sticks with you, and if you hear someone hasn't played it, you're like, we have to, like you have to.
It's easily like a boxing match, and when the first twist happens, when Sayori hangs herself, it's literally like you got a right hook to the jaw, and you never really fully regain balance after that, and the game will keep doing little jabs at you, and like harder strikes until like the end where you're just completely like gone and out of it. You know,
this is a thing. This is a phenomenon with a lot of really good and really effective stories that after you know the main twist, after you know how things play out, you'll never watch it the same again, and it's kind of sad. Like it doesn't ruin what it did for you the first time, but that's essentially what it was for. Is like the first time you watch it will blow your mind, or the first time you
but it's still,
the first time you experience it.
It still doesn't take away any of the weight really from it. Maybe it's not as much as the first time, but it's still not something that you wouldn't mind ever seeing again, even after knowing everything. And there's both games have a good rabbit hole to go down to like uncover more about like the themes that they're using to like make you scared and fearful. Damn, I was gonna go on to something, but I lost it.
You lost it?
I lost what I was gonna go into something else.
Something else? Music,
yes. Fuck me. They're both the soundtracks are so damn good in this game, let me just say. And I'm not just gonna talk about the scary stuff that Doki Doki does, but also like the way it sets up that first melody with the flute and the piano.
Yeah, it
kind of sets the bar. So when you get that same thing but broken, and when you hear like even like out of tune piano, like just kind of globs of notes, it just makes that
I believe
it just makes that like more stand out a lot more.
I believe before the twist actually happens, every now and then, like you will hear a sour note on the piano,
right?
And it'll just be like, "Oh, that was weird."
Oh yeah, or like
just change keys for a second, or like whatever.
Or like the flute melody will do like an accidental for like one note.
Yeah,
and
it'll happen before the twist, which just makes you feel sort of uneasy about it.
Like this is gonna sound way out of context, but I'm gonna just say this. Like when yesterday when I was playing Jesus on the piano, And like
brand new.
Yeah, by
Jesus
brand
Christ.
new.
Yes.
And like I fucked up the melody on the right hand where I went to F natural instead of F sharp. Where it just kind of, it literally fell flat. Something like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just one note too, so it's just enough to make you like, so there is like as subtle as you can get, and it's even in the music. Hell, fuck, I don't remember off the top of my head, but Yuri's theme where she confesses to you, like, still resonates, and you can feel that like that dread and somber and melancholiness like in the track.
What the thing is with hang on. Okay, so I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna quickly diverge from the music and then we'll get back to it because I don't want to lose what I'm gonna say here.
Right.
But
and I want to lose
just quickly, like the game mostly has the same like motif.
Yeah.
Like that's
in C, yeah.
That's essentially the only song you hear in the game in multiple forms, in like multiple different.
I think
it's slightly like in different timings, in different keys, maybe like, but that's generally the hook that like you hear in almost every song, and it really ties everything together. Okay, now what I was going to say to get off of the music, and then we'll get back into it. But just while I'm thinking about this, all the fucking little things that the game does to fuck with you that are like randomly generated, such as like the picture at the back of the classroom being Sayori hanging herself one of the days randomly.
Oh yeah, like it'll do subtle things,
or the
like,
screen very
tilting,
carefully tilting slowly until you like start. You don't even realize until it's like halfway.
You saying this is giving me chills right now.
Until it's like halfway zoomed in and tilted, you don't realize, and then you're like, "Wait, is this something's off here?" And then it'll zoom back out, and you'll be like, "Okay, so that definitely was happening." He's at the piano right now. He's playing. I don't think this is picking it up, but he's playing the Yuri theme.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not picking up. I just wanted to like help you remember the theme I was talking about.
See, here's the thing. I was saying.
Yeah, that thing.
I was gonna say that's because I remembered you mentioning that theme before, and like I was always like, no, it didn't stick out to me. But when you just played it, I remember it. Yeah,
you remember the scene that you're talking about, and you feel sad. And it's weird to think why, because it's in a major key.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's based on G and F, and it's still super somber. Like it's really interesting the way it like it just
feeling super somber.
Yeah, if you want, God damn it.
Okay.
If you want to get into the music theory, like it's just I love that song. I love the music in this game, and just the subtleties and all that it does. But Silent Hill also has great music. The thing that I remember is not the opening track.
Booting it up. No, I remember that.
Yeah, I know you want to get into that, but my favorite part was that like that vibraphone thing that sounded really ominous. The doo doo doo, something like that. I can't hit the right note.
Wait, are you talking about the opening track?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Silent Hill. Fuck.
You're not talking about the radio that was always playing.
No, not the radio. It was like it's a really well known song. Like, I don't fucking
from Silent Hill 1.
Yeah. You know, you can get in. Maybe it's fuck. Fuck off.
I'm just. Clearly, the one that comes to mind is the one when you open it.
Right, yeah, you could talk about
that. Yeah. And then, I don't know. That song sounds fucking great. And it's the same thing with Silent Hill, too.
It's weird because it's weirdly upbeat, too. And, like, you see all the events happening in the game, too.
It is upbeat. That's what I'm talking about.
The little Mandarin, yeah.
That's not what you were talking about?
No, I'm not trying to talk about that.
Yeah, at first when I heard that game booting up a horror game, I was like, interesting. But like it works. After hearing it enough, I'm like, yeah, that's the song. Apparently, they did use some weird shit to make the sounds in the game, like in the music, such as like dentist drills.
Yeah, and there's like, even something like this. Something nice and ominous.
It would just be ominous, uncomfortable, unnerving sounds a lot.
Which is pretty much, which is like what to do in a horror soundtrack. I'm really trying to find the song.
I really don't know what song you're talking about.
Fuck.
But beyond that,
Not Save Sybil. Is it the save theme?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, honestly.
The games are very, very different. And
Not this, but
you're still looking at music.
I'm trying to look at it because it's like, it upsets me that you don't know it, but fuck. I guess I kind of have to drop it, but I love that song.
Yeah, you can show me later.
I love the song. Okay, like if people know what I'm talking about, it's literally like people use it all the time, and like in YouTube videos when they talk about this game or something horror related.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the vibraphone with like the fucking the motor spinning pretty fast. That kind of sound, I guess, if you can remember that.
No, but like
I tried singing the melody earlier, but anywho, it's weird. Again, it's like it's weirdly calming also.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes, just like the whole town, it makes it feel empty.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you that kind of feeling with it.
So
both of the games have like really iconic sounds and music that really play up the whole atmosphere with it.
yeah.
I know we're going on quite a bit with this, but there's just a lot to talk about with these two games.
Yeah, I was gonna.
These are like two giant games for us that like really have an effect on you first time playthrough in terms of a horror experience.
I was gonna get away from the music now and say, for Silent Hill, the inventory system, like they basically did Resident Evil, but they removed some of the stress and actually focused on the like horror, like the uncomfortable, the atmosphere. Like they completely put all of their eggs in that basket, and it paid off, in my opinion. After thinking about it a bunch, I think the original Silent Hill does do horror better than any of the like original fixed camera Resident Evils, if you ask me.
Right.
Because it feels horror, it feels like scary more. It doesn't rely on making you feel like you don't have any ammo or like or inventory space, or making you panic with tank controls. I mean, I guess there are tank controls, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It actually it's actually scary because scary stuff's happening.
And the enemies weren't like too often either, and like I don't know, they weren't like so much the threat like in Resident Evil, but just when something would be around, it just kind of gave you a disorienting feeling.
And the creature,
like that's the main thing, is that you feel disoriented, especially in the Rust world.
Yeah, and the creatures that you find. Yeah, the disoriented thing could be a strength or a weakness, similar to the inventory and minimal resources for Resident Evil. Personally, with the disorientation, like about half of our entire experience was staring at a map.
Yeah, and the map wasn't really the prettiest.
No, but I do think that the disorientation was on purpose for sure.
Oh yeah.
And you're still on the music.
I'm still trying to find it because it's important to me. I love this. It's one of my favorite themes probably in most games.
You can show me after.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna have my mind on it. I want to show the people.
I feel like
let them know what I'm talking about.
I feel like we do need to wrap up.
Yeah, we're kind of getting. We're talking a lot about both.
Yeah.
Just trying to think. We're thinking
it hasn't made it much easier.
No, it hasn't. We're trying to think of other factors, I guess, that would help us lean on one side.
I've got my vote for,
I guess,
for horror game.
Yeah, I guess which one? Okay, if you got your vote, then I guess we're gonna just go into it.
All right. Yeah, we should. We've spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
And then we'll wrap this up quickly with the last two. It's funny. This is like more of a finals battle than whatever the final one will be.
Yeah. This is like the big chunk of this episode, honestly.
Yeah. So I feel like we're about to get in an argument again. 3, 2, 1. Silent
Doki
Hill.
Doki.
Yep.
I figured.
Well, so did I.
Well, I mean, I did say last one. It was Doki Doki is one of my favorite games now.
I don't think it has cemented itself to me as a horror game, and that is my sole reason.
I think it has. I think Silent Hill hasn't really cemented itself as a horror game for me, but its themes and and the message that it's trying to send really sticks with me. So it's not like, and watching you play Silent Hill, I wasn't really felt scared or terrified, just more or less alone, and empty. It gave me an empty feeling, I guess. It's a more like a melancholy type of dread, of that type of horror. Meanwhile, like in Doki Doki, yeah, you didn't lose sleep playing that game either.
No, I did.
Wait, that's what I meant. You lost sleep.
No, but what I wanted to say was, with Doki Doki Literature Club, it does have that impact the first time, but now, like, after that first time, it became like a comforting thing to play through and get to know the characters. And for me, it cemented itself as a game, but God, why am I burping? It's past the initial playthrough. It's just a game to me. It's no longer a horror game.
Yeah, I would say that about Silent Hill. Is that it's kind of like it's a game to me also.
What?
Silent Hill. Yeah, going through Silent Hill because it's you're actively doing more.
Yeah,
and doing yeah.
I feel like Silent Hill gets the points for being like
meanwhile
a horror game.
Even on repeat playthroughs, I feel like Doki Doki would still unnerve me.
I think Silent Hill might
I wouldn't feel comfortable, and I would feel pretty tense playing the game still.
I think Silent Hill could be uncomfortable if you're like alone in your dark room playing it, but Doki Doki that's how I played it. And I had fun with it. Like after the first time, it really like the things don't feel the same. Like seeing Sayori hanging for the first time, I couldn't sleep, and it was heavy, and it was fucked with me. But then it became like a meme. Like,
It's awful.
No, but it did.
It did indeed. Yeah.
and once something's like been through that treatment, it's really hard to like go back and look at it as something that impactful again.
I guess that's fair. Then in both, then
We
if
became really comfortable with
if we-
how everything plays out.
if we put it all both games down to their crutch or their crux or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Both games leave me a somber, melancholy, sad feeling, and I feel empty playing it too.
Yeah.
Like thinking about that Silent Hill theme, I can't fucking find me for to save my life. And Yuri's confession theme, they both leave me with the same feeling. Like there's everything's out of my control, I guess. And so like both games have their strength there, and like the horror is that there's nothing you can do, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And in Silent Hill, you are trying to like do things best you can to like to get out of that mess, and in Doki Doki you're just kind of watching everything happen.
I feel like in Doki Doki it's because it is a game with because it's a visual novel with it's destined to play out almost the exact same every time. There are things that change here and there, and we covered that. But it's destined to be the same thing, and once you're comfortable with what's going to happen, it's just not effective anymore. The first time it's really effective and it will cement its place.
But
I think Silent Hill is the better horror game in that you can still go back to it and you can still have somewhat different experience. A somewhat different experience every time.
Well, that's kind of why I would treat Doki Doki as a delicacy. Like I haven't played it since either. I haven't played it since like 2017.
Well, here's my thing.
Like early 2 years ago now.
I just gotta interject because I haven't really thought about it since we were like really into it. And while we were talking about it, and I voted it over Resident Evil 7, it's because like I remembered how powerful it really was when I first played it.
You know what? That's fair. I haven't really thought about it either.
But yeah,
not because it didn't stick with me. Not because I like want to forget about it. If you talk about it with me, I'll still be like, oh yeah, absolutely, one of the best games. You need to play it. That's why I'm like, I remember that I need to get Sarah to be playing it because it's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And like, I wouldn't really think a whole lot about Silent Hill either, but that's not a bad thing to say about it.
I just think something about like, and this is like a bad argument, I'm aware, but like there is something about Silent Hill that like being in that world feels different than rebooting a new save on Doki Doki
Or just starting a new story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because there can be different outcomes in Silent Hill, and in a way, there's more to delve into there.
Yeah. I'm
give
not
you the
gonna
point
knock Doki Doki Literature Club. The writing and the execution and everything, the music, it's all phenomenal. But I do still stand on Silent Hill. Are either of us willing to cave on the other into the other?
Honestly, not as of yet.
Okay,
I'm going out swinging.
well, if we still need to talk about it,
Yeah. Okay. So
what do you have to say?
I guess big questions to try to like hammer it home.
This isn't our final match, and we are at 2 hours. Also, just
oh my
letting you know.
goodness. Okay. Which game do we think is scarier? Are we more scared to play and scared while we play it?
We disagree. That's the problem. As I've said, I've played Doki Doki Literature Club on my own, alone in my room, and like, I don't think I would sit here and play through Silent Hill in the dark alone.
Really?
I don't.
Is that all because of the Rust world, or like just the game as a whole?
Because it really effectively makes it unnerving. We played that game together.
Right.
When we experienced it. And I genuinely felt nervous just traversing the world, even in the context of a Let's Play, where some games are supposed to be scary that we've done just kind of lose that flair. Because we start talking like Outlast 2 didn't scare us. Or even Outlast 1 that much past a certain point. A lot of games, the horror will wear off because we're focusing on a Let's Play and like we'll just completely even miss the point. But Silent Hill, as the one who was playing it, like there was still a lot of parts where I was just uneasy walking around, and like more often than not, nothing actually made us scream or like really got us. The biggest scare for us was at the end when the ghost of Cheryl, I think that's who it was supposed to be.
Right.
Comes like walking down the hallway.
Oh yeah.
And we just were like, ah!
Yeah.
It really fucking got us, but nothing else in the game really got that out of us. But at the same time, I was tense the entire time.
Yeah.
And not, again, just because it's been a recurring theme, not out of stress. I was genuinely feeling scared to be in that world.
Meanwhile, Doki Doki has gotten me to scream multiple times. And watching the Let's Play also, even internally. Like, I watched the whole Let's Play of it all the way through, still played it on my own, and was still unnerved playing it.
Doki Doki has a high creep factor, but it hasn't jump scared me. Like, not jump scared, because that's not a real scare, but like, it hasn't.
Yeah.
It hasn't made me be like, oh no, turn it off. Like, can't.
It definitely had that effect on me, and I think the creep factor is a really big contender to get to me. I mean, when we say like which one is scarier, it's subjective. Because for me, I'm all about the creep factor that gets to me, and like.
Well, I think Silent Hill was creepy, and I just went through all that.
Well, there are some things that I find creepy that you just be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Well, sure, like mannequins, but
mannequins, yeah.
But that's not the topic. We really do.
Then I guess I'll give you the point there for that I haven't played Silent Hill on my own, or even been behind the wheel playing it. Whereas you have also played Doki Doki on your own as well as I have. Just I'm losing out the experience of I haven't played Silent Hill and got the full experience.
During Silent Hill, I remember after most sessions you would tell me that you didn't remember like what happened. Like you weren't really there for it.
Oh, I was a bit tired. Okay. then I have to give you the point there. Just yeah.
Are we at somewhere?
You're getting your foot in the door.
Are you gonna give it to me?
If if we're not gonna budge and we're at
just because we have to wrap it up. We've got the other two. We can just like wrap up in a sentence or two. But we gotta get there.
Yeah. I'll give it to you. I don't really mind losing out to Silent Hill. By any means, it is a great game in its own right. I would love to play it on my own. It's just I don't have many options to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, but man, that's a bit of a kick to the cock. I feel like I just saw one of my kids lose in a little league game of dodgeball.
To be fair, like
because Doki Doki is just such a good experience that's gonna last with me for like ever. It's gonna stick with me, and I'm always gonna like get other people to revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
So just because like it loses out to Silent Hill doesn't mean
thing.
It budges in my heart.
That's not a bad thing. So we have two final.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's the winner of the winners bracket.
No, hang on.
Silent Hill.
No, we still got two things to cover. That the losers of the winners are Outlast and DDLC, and I don't think we have to explain why we would choose DDLC. Okay, so
I should have said Outlast just to fuck with you.
And for the winners of the winners bracket, this is like technically the finale.
Is it?
And this is kind of unfair for us not to spend time on, because this is a big fucking
Another big one.
a big deal. But yeah, it would be Resident Evil Remake versus Silent Hill. That's the
I thought it was Amnesia versus Silent.
No.
Fuck.
It would be the original like Resident Evil versus the original Silent Hill.
The classic argument of horror games.
Exactly.
Fuck. We went full circle. We went full circle. I think we've talked about everything we possibly could have. It'd be silly if we let Resident Evil like just win if we handed that back over.
Well, here's the thing. Remake has won everything it's been put up against, to be fair so far. But just to like sum it up quickly, I never thought, like when I played Resident Evil 7 and then I played 4 and then I played 1 and then I played the 2 remake, like I did all that before I touched a Silent Hill game, and I was like, Silent Hill's I'm never gonna like a Silent Hill game more than Resident Evil. Like I was like already feeling loyal to Resident Evil. But Silent Hill 1 is, I think, in my opinion, I think I liked it better than any of the horror themed Resident Evils.
You know what? In my eyes,
as a horror game,
in my eyes, I think Silent Hill does original Resident Evil better than Resident Evil.
Okay, and
because of a few reasons. The biggest one is that you said you felt unnerved and tense as you're traversing the world of Silent Hill
out of fear.
All because out of fear and because of how well it built the world around you and just everything. And meanwhile, Resident Evil has the crutch of item management and enemies to make you feel nervous.
Well, yeah, and Silent Hill has the enemies too.
It's stress compared to actual fear.
I do think the enemies in Silent Hill are scarier than zombies.
Yeah, and we're back to that argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Rust world already looks way more unnerving than really anything that Resident Evil 1 throws at you.
Yeah,
if we're being honest.
They did. They do both have great music.
Yeah, for sure.
They both have the like survival horror aspect of it. Like Resident Evil created Silent Hill. They created a survival horror, to the best of my knowledge, more or less.
Yeah.
I personally like Silent Hill's take.
Silent Hill also does the psychological part of horror.
You think better than Resident Evil does the zombie horror?
Yes.
Okay, so I think
and that's horror just better overall, and that takes it to a much darker place. Because
I think the series, like, because it takes itself seriously with its story, and it's an effective story. I'm talking about the whole like franchise now, like including 2, which we were bogged down by some of the gameplay. We thought it was stressful, but as a series, I think Silent Hill is more effective when it comes to horror for me.
I agree.
When it comes to like the gameplay, I can't say I like either of the Silent Hill games I've played more than I like Resident Evil 4, but we're talking about horror, which puts like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and 7 on the table. And the only one we're really comparing this directly to is the first one. And even the remake, I still feel like the original Silent Hill. I had more like I had a lot more of an urge to just keep getting back into there and to finish it up. I was excited to see how things
Right.
would wrap up.
And also the puzzles are better in
The
Silent
puzzles
Hill.
are definitely better.
So I think it just it rounds the edges that Resident Evil has and just does every aspect seemingly like pretty much every aspect better.
Yeah. But so that's it. We're choosing Silent Hill.
There you go. There's the winner. There's your crown boy. Is anyone really surprised? Honestly,
Sort of.
I was gonna fight for DDLC to take the crown, but
Yeah.
I'm not really upset that Silent Hill is there because it's such a strong contender for it.
For me, like, there is something admittedly weird about if we let DDLC take this.
Well, you say that now, but who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, it'll be seen as a cult classic.
I think it is already. But you know what I mean? And that didn't play a role in me like choosing Silent Hill, but it would feel a little weird if Doki Doki Literature Club did take the crown of the best horror game.
Yeah, but I feel like it would have if Silent Hill didn't go directly toe to toe with it.
I think that is plausible.
But who knows? That's our bracket, guys.
That's our bracket.
That's our bracket. That's our thoughts. Like we
So-
really went elbow deep into our full thoughts on pretty much every game here. I'm pretty sure you guys should think of it. But
So for our winners, technically the order is Silent Hill is best, and then Remake, DDLC, and then Outlast. And I think arguably both of us would actually put DDLC right below
second, yeah.
right below Silent Hill. I don't know. DDLC and Remake would still be a hard one for me. I love Remake, and we didn't really go. we really treated the DDLC versus Silent Hill as like the main event.
It really did, because there's just a lot to talk about it. Honestly, to talk about with both of them, honestly, and I feel like I've made my points, said everything I needed to. Give it a good old fight.
So that's it. That's we found our favorite the quote best, if you ask us, according to the game shed.
According to the shed.
Horror game with Silent Hill, and I can't say going into this that I did think one would win over any others. I knew Silent Hill was one of my favorites.
I think it just depends on when you ask
Amnesia
us.
was one of my favorites too, but that ended up in the losers bracket.
It's just interesting the way this madness bracket will pop up. I'm sure we're gonna do more of these in the future.
Yeah, when
We're
we
probably gonna
find some
shake it up.
topics. Oh, and by the
Or
way,
do different topics. Do different. Yeah, madness bracket is probably what we're gonna be leaning on, honestly.
by the way, if you put up a if you put the winner of the winner and losers bracket together, you would get Silent Hill and Amnesia. And I do think those are probably my two favorite games on this list.
So there you go.
For horror games, yeah. But we won't do that because my logic there is if Amnesia lost to something, then we can't say it's the best.
Yeah. Well, we really went full on in depth. You can someone write a transcript of this discussion and just post it on a forum or something. Just thoughts on fucking survival horror video games.
8 of them.
8 of them. Well, 8 of the biggest ones that we could think of.
Okay, and did you want to recommend something for us to talk about?
I was gonna ask you honestly if you had any predictions for next week's topic, which honestly it's up in the air.
I thought maybe you'd have a movie for me to watch or a game to play or
any homework assignments
or or an album to listen to or anything like that.
Not as of yet. I think we're gonna get into the homework assignments, but for now, I think we still have enough that we already know, where we can still talk about it before we need to go into new things.
Okay, so I
If
guess
that
we
makes
just
sense.
we'll wrap up our Halloween bracket then.
Yeah, and maybe next week we'll be joined with something music related.
Maybe music, maybe a movie, maybe another bracket. Like who knows?
Probably another bracket. I'm gonna.
Okay.
Cause that's all we've been talking about in the car like today. So
All right. Well, yeah, we'll see what we have. I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to just sitting down and talking about
Just whatever the fuck.
something that we've recommended the other check out as well.
yeah, but we're definitely gonna get around to that. I just think there's a lot that we already do know, both of us that already know and have experience with, that we'll end up being able to talk about.
Yeah, this was the first little series on our podcast.
Yeah, a whole 5 hours of it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'm proud.
5 hours. Jesus. We talked about games for 5 hours, and it really doesn't feel like that. I had lots of fun doing this.
Yeah,
I
me
hope you
too.
guys had fun listening
You wanted to do this more than the game shed.
to our thoughts so far.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel the time going through, honestly. I was like 2 hours. I can keep doing this.
Yes.
So, anywho.
Thanks. We will
Thanks for listening, guys.
we're gonna blow out this candle.
Let's blow out this candle, bitch.
All right. See you
See you
next
next
time.
time.